My grandmother's name was Agnes Josephine Salber Clausen. She was born in 1900 on a farm outside Russell, Kansas in post-rock country. Her parents were John and Ellen Salber, and she was the firstborn of 6 children. The 20s were a time of change, not only for the United States, but for the Salber family. Ellen died of cancer, and Grandma took over as caregiver to her younger siblings and helped her father with housework and cooking. Grandma always said that anyone who was nostalgic for the old days had never had to live in them. Grandma talked about going out with her friends to a country dance in the 1920s and the place getting raided by the police looking for alcohol. I was so surprised by that and asked Grandma how that felt, and she told me that she didn't care one way or the other. They didn't have any booze there for the police to find. One of the young men was so scared that he jumped out through the window and ran away. In 1930, Grandma married Martin Clausen. They had 3 sons, Gerald Lee, my dad Gail Allen, and Charles Martin. Times were hard for the family in the 30s, but my grandma always said they didn't feel the hard time. They could always take their eggs and their milk to the town of Russell and sell them to have spending money. Grandma never felt deprived by the life they lived. Once, when my Uncle Jerry was 6, my dad was about 2, and my Uncle Charlie was a tiny baby, the string broke on Grandma's bloomers, and the bloomers fell down around her ankles. She had to hold on tight to my dad because she knew that if she let go of him, he would have run into the street. And of course, she couldn't put the baby down. I asked her what she did. Her response to me was, "Well, I kicked them under the car, got in, drove off, and acted like they weren't mine." Grandpa wanted new horizons, and the family moved to a farm and ranch 8 miles south of Araba, Colorado, a little town on the eastern plains. The family settled in and farmed and raised registered Angus cattle. Grandma and Grandpa lived on the farm in the new house. My family lived in the same yard in the old house. My mom was a teacher and Grandma was our babysitter. When I started school, I rode the bus home to Grandma's house every day. Grandma and Grandpa moved into Araba, and our days took on a different tone. We walked to Grandma's house after school instead of riding the bus. We played in the park across the street, listened to Grandma's books on LP from the library for the blind, picked flowers from her tulip beds, found our Halloween pumpkins in Grandma's garden. After Grandpa died, my parents sold the home place and moved to Yoder, Colorado. Grandma moved into the local senior citizen housing. She lived there until her health deteriorated and she had to move into an assisted care facility. One day Grandma slipped and cut her leg. She ended up in Denver in the hospital. While there, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. When the doctor gave her the choice between a lumpectomy and a mastectomy, Grandma replied, "Cut the damn thing off. I don't need it anymore." She was 94 years old at the time. She had a pacemaker. She was blind, but she still had that spark and that spirit that made her so wonderful. Grandma moved into the nursing home and had lived there for some time when she aspirated some food and developed pneumonia. She was hospitalized and the hospital would not feed her unless she agreed to a feeding tube. Grandma was violently opposed to that, and we took her back to the nursing home. I spent many hours at Grandma's, sitting beside her bed, singing our favorite hymns to her until she could sleep. Grandma died in 1998. She lived a full life. She loved her family, she loved her friends, and she loved life. She was my special hero.